Hello, hello. Hmm. Great to see you. Take your time to see everybody on the other pages, our beautiful sangha. Yay. I wonder who's watching the Super Bowl today. Not us. Hmm. Great to see you. Hmm. Oh, we hope you're all well.
Begin by feeling your body just where it is. Just even before you make adjustments, just feeling throughout the body, the limbs, upper body, lower body, head. How you're sitting. You can capture that sitting posture. It's significant in the Buddha's instructions of mindfulness. Just feeling from within the posture. The sensations of that posture, sitting, standing, lying. And equally recognizing and acknowledging pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. Numb sensations. Likewise, in the mental stream, what mind states, what moods, what emotions, just that are there. Try not to dig or think of anything or remember anything or project anything, just here and now. coming to a familiar anchor, the whole body or an area of the body, the hands, the feet, the sit bones. And through that groundedness, feel the mindscape. Relatively calm and tranquil? Or are there little eruptions or larger eruptions? Sometimes the forefront is calm and the background feels a little disruptive. Sometimes it's the other way around. The forefront seems a little erratic or chaotic, bumpy. Yet in the background, there's a smooth sea, tranquility. Not preferring one over the other, not going after one and rejecting the other. Just pure noticing things as they are. And in this way, we're not trying to control. If we do, the mindfulness isn't pure. And if the mindfulness is pure, it doesn't matter what's happening. You can gather all the calm and chaos, eruption, tranquility. And just be aware of that landscape. In some directions we look calm and peaceful. In other directions, it's a little wild and chaotic. Because of the intimate relationship between mindfulness and equanimity, it doesn't matter what's going on. What matters is the preservation of that quality of mindful awareness that's not seeking anything, not wanting anything, not needing to change. It's complete within itself. And in the moments of pure mindfulness, all the other accompanying associated skillful states are helpful, supportive, like patience, energy. And the beginnings of insight, wisdom. In this way, it feels effortless as we settle into our bodies and the energy field around it, and don't mind the pull of distraction or chaos or expansion, compression. tranquil seas or rough seas. There, the equanimity part is completely okay in the midst of things as they are. And we feel this calming effect. Sometimes first, it's a calming of mental formations. At other times, when there's not a lot going on, it feels like the physical formations are being soothed, unified. But whatever arises, we can take the energy of that and put it into this keen attention that sometimes finely focused, at other times the aperture is more open and we're viewing larger swaths of sensation, mental formations. What we're looking at never really matters. How we're looking, the instrument of looking, the quality of awareness is most important. Knowing that we're aware is supremely important. No matter what happens, how difficult, how stressful, how unskillful sometimes, when we know we're aware of it all, that's meditation. We're being mindful. We're disentangling the very elements that contribute to mental, physical difficulty, to striving, to conflict. And a steady anchor for awareness, if it's helpful, in addition to the body and breath, may be the area around the solar plexus, considered the heart-mind door, where emotions, thought formations, right down to the most refined stream of consciousness itself, have their physical basis here. It can be reassuring and calming. Even if the sensation feels flat, hard, numb. And then from that sense door, recognize what other sense doors are expressing our bodily nature. Physical sensation, sound vibration, imagery, whether the eyes are open or closed, the dance of light and shadow. This body and these senses are all we have. It's our own galaxy that experiences everything that we experience. So staying close to it is reassuring, brings confidence, reminds us if we're in the present moment, things are okay as they are. That even means when we use those skillful means of backing off of difficult conditions, just as long as there is a sense of standing in the present moment. With some physical or mental touchstone. This present time, precious awareness is here. Abiding in that precious present time awareness. If it's difficult, you know how calling up the care of compassion can help. Your system feels connected, oriented toward pleasant experience. The mudita feels a good accompanying skillful state with mindfulness. Pretty much always the equanimity. Is boundlessly, vastly reassuring. in the last couple of minutes of the sitting practice together, using the insight awareness to watch whatever is arising now, to dissolve, to fall into nothingness. And the preciousness of that realization of anicca nature, the profound goodwill that comes from that appreciation. And in the retreat, in the sitting together with each other, sending out the goodwill and friendliness of metta, unconditional love, beginning with ourselves, saturating our body, and then extending it to all of us here, sitting together, and any in our immediate reach or environment. Feeling the wisdom express itself through unconditional love. I still don't see the choice. I don't have an on or off for my bell, Jesse.
That's okay.
We just have to get you logged back into your account, Steve, so it shows up.
I am. I'm signed in.
Oh, you did? Oh. Well, we'll figure it out later.
Okay.
Okay. Hmm. Thank you, Stephen, for your instructions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It seems like it's been a long time that where I live, there's been the volcanic ash from the volcano from Kilauea on the other side of the island. So when the Vog comes over here, you, you rarely see blue sky, and often there's no horizon. So at a certain point, one starts wishing for the trade winds to come. And this year, I really wished hard for some time, and the trade winds didn't come, but the trade winds came this past week. And when they come nowadays, it seems like with global warming, things have changed. And when they come with a fierceness that in this area, again, it's like a funnel that comes down the mountain. And it's like for 2 days, it was often 70-mile-per-hour gusts, but kind of normal. Yeah, it's unbelievable, 40 to 60 miles per hour normal. And what I start to notice is you don't hear the birds, or you don't see dragonflies. And 2 more trees came down right around where I live, so that's like 5 this year, just this year. And what I find really interesting in that, you don't always get what you wish for. You get so the Vog went away, but you get this incredible extreme. And but what I find interesting is that in the winter, the whales come here. The whales visit. They migrate here, and no matter how crazy it is, like lots of Vog or incredible wind, sometimes the ocean looks like snow on it. The wind is so strong, it looks like there's snow. It's so white. And but the whales are just like fine. Like, or it looks like they're fine. Like from a distance, you can see them jumping and playing, and it's in the midst of all this kind of wintry uncertainty, or the uncertainty of the elements, like the fire element. There's this kind of depth of presence that the whales bring. And I read recently that blue whales and Asian elephants can communicate over long distances with low-pitched infrasonic calls. So just like, it's amazing, right? Blue whales, Asian elephants, low-pitched infrasonic calls. And I've wondered about this, but this author's studied it. He said that when our world was much quieter, like when the oceans were quiet, that the whales' calls would carry across all the oceans. Like, isn't that amazing? Like when you think about like the silence and how powerful that is, just like that sense of connection, and that a call of a whale in Hawaii would go across the world's oceans. That I always wondered, but it's nice to have it kind of validated. It reminded me of a poem that was written in 2021 during the pandemic by Marie Howe. Oh, the pandemic had such power, yeah. And she wrote, it's called What the Silence Said. So what the silence said. Do you still believe in borders now? Birds soar over your maps and walls and always have. You might have watched how the smoke from your own fires traveled on wind you couldn't see, wafting over the valley and up and over the hills and over the next valley and the next hill. Did you not hear the animals howl and sing, or hear the silence of the animals no longer singing? Now you know what it is to be afraid. You think this is a dream. It's not a dream. You think this is a theoretical question. What do you love more than what you imagine is your singular life? The water grows clearer, the swans settle and float there. Are you willing to take your place in the forest again, to become loam and bark, to be a leaf falling from a great height, to be the worm who eats the leaf and the bird who eats the worm? Look at the sky. Are you willing to be the sky again? You think this lesson is too hard for you. You want the time out to end. You want to go to the movies as before, to sit and eat with your friends. It can end now, but not in the way you imagine. You know, the mind that has been talking to you for so long, the mind that can explain everything, don't listen. You were once a citizen of a country called I don't know. Remember the burning boat that brought you there? Climb in. So I brought these two kind of elements of quiet and silence, of the calls of the whales that can go right across all the water on the planet, or this silence that can come when we allow the mind to stop trying to explain everything, right? That we listen differently. We don't listen to that incessant need for the security of the explanation, right? The conceptual overlay that we're putting over and over again, what's actually going on all the time, the non-conceptual reality. So in Vipassana, we're attempting to have that enough quiet and silence out of that thought stream that is trying to just protect us, right? It's just trying to protect us from anicca, dukkha, anatta, from impermanence and the unreliability of experience because of impermanence and the uncontrollability of experience. It's just that being able to learn to listen differently, to being vulnerable, to pausing, and that we don't have to struggle or oppose the conceptual thinking that's incessant trying to protect us. But we see that if you listen differently, there's nothing to get. There's nothing to get rid of. And that we can keep pausing. We keep pausing and learning to be in the non-conceptual, even if it's a few seconds, that we're starting to get informed by something very different. So being with things just as they are, not how we're wanting them to be, how we think they should be, but just as they are appearing, learning to be with what's appearing. There's a small little poem by Issa, the great Japanese haiku poet. He said, trying to pick up the dewdrop, the child's amazed, it disappears. Just like Steve's instructions, yeah. It's like every moment disappearing. But that wonder, right, of a child, that exploration, that pure mindfulness of like just being with what is, just not knowing the uncertainty, trying to pick up the dewdrop, which we do, right? We do it a lot. And we're so surprised when the moment doesn't last when we think it should. So the truth of existence, the Buddha taught that if you do pay attention with this deeper listening, this allowing the non-conceptual reality to emerge just as it is, intuitive insight happens into anicca, dukkha, anatta. And with impermanence, I think often it's easier to accept the softer, pleasant aspects of impermanence. The other night, or maybe it was last night. Last night, I yeah, 3 a.m, getting older, you wake up a lot. Looked outside, and I was just like struck by how much the winter stars, the constellations, are already moving on. Like it's like shocking, if you know the winter stars are already like moving so fast, and it's just like it's almost unbearable to just see spring is just around the corner on one level. But that's a very soft kind of change, and also on March 1st, Venus and Jupiter will be so close. It's going to be magnificent, right? It's going to be so beautiful. You can start, if the sky is ever clear, you can start watching them move closer and closer after sunset. So there's a sense that there's a great beauty sometimes in anicca and a great comfort. And in that way, I think often the Vipassana practice can be very inviting until we start getting that there's also the really harsh aspects of impermanence. Really, really hard. Like the earthquake that just happened, right, in Turkey and Syria. That's very natural. It wasn't human caused, and yet it's devastating kind of anicca. Or there's so many aspects of that as well, whether it's social, political, or in nature itself. And then there's death, right? There's birth, life, and death. There's so many aspects of the pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral in anicca, in impermanence. And so with that, of course, is that amazing range of joy and sorrow that we experience being incarnated here, all of us. So the Buddha said, all conditioned things, not just some. What we all share is this incredible uncertainty, incredible vulnerability, this incredible uncontrollability that all beings that are born, all conditioned things, are arising and passing away. And that in understanding this, it brings the greatest kind of happiness, which is peace. I think this is so beautiful, just to kind of remember again and again that there is the happiness of pleasure, but there's a deeper, deeper happiness, a contentment of peace, of being with things just as they are, of that being connected with anicca, being connected with dukkha, being connected with anatta. So there's a way in which we can, like we can bow to each other, bow in reverence to each other. Uh-oh, here comes a gust. Woo. Here comes the wind again. I thought the wind wasn't going to do this, so that's why I'm surprised. Okay. We can bow to the wind. We can bow to thoughts changing. We can bow to the dust. And we can bow to each moment. And I'm not saying that as a poetic metaphor. It's really, that's the mindfulness practice, as really just trying. All we're trying to do is meet whatever arises, just what's apparent, not embellished at all with our ideas about what should be, but just that bare attention, just trying to meet whatever arises, and that's bowing to each moment. It's a very, very simple, and it's very simple. but it often requires a kind of non-sentimental compassion without the romantic vision of anicca or the romantic or sentimental idea of compassion or metta. It's like not it's not embellished. It's a great caring about how hard it really is to be connected to anicca, dukkha, and anatta. It's really hard to bow to each moment. It's very hard to bow to the truth of existence. And I'll give a very light example. The last month of teaching, very busy. The month long, very wonderful, but very busy. And I thought the winds had stopped, and I had a little bit of time to sweep the floors in the house, like the Swiffer and dust. It was like a really big project. And one of the joys for me of when I managed to sweep, especially with a bad back, is that the happy Sayadaw, when I first met him the first few years, every time I went to Burma, the happy Sayadaw would jump up and he didn't grab a broom. He would pretend he was sweeping, and he would say, "Are you sweeping? Are you sweeping mindfully?" And I'm not somebody who actually likes to sweep, right? And so somehow I don't know how he had my number, but he was like just. For years, it felt like just would tease me, like, "Are you sweeping? Are you sweeping mindfully?" So whenever I sweep, I think of him, and it brings me such joy. And it was bringing me such joy that I had the time, and my back was cooperating, and the house was so clean. I would say within an hour, that 70-mile-per-hour wind started, and it doesn't even matter if you like close the windows or even if you try to open a door for a second to get out. But like it's just chaos of dark dust or red dust or even light dust, but it's covered. Like everything's covered. It's hilarious. And I think of that saying, resistance is futile. Isn't it Darth Vader in Star Wars that says resistance is futile? But there is that great teaching, which we learn in this practice, which is be careful of being attached to the result of our effort. Yeah. And this is deep. It's whether it's our own practice in a sitting or over 5 years or 10 years or being attached to the result of our efforts. It's like, of course it was wonderful that I swept, right? It was a good thing to do. And yet to be attached to the result of that brings so much suffering. And it's the same with everything we do. It's like the Vipassana practice is meant to purify motivation and purify motivation and purify motivation to the point where we just know that it's good to sit. It doesn't matter at the end of the sitting how we're going to judge it or assess it or measure it, but it's just that it's a good thing to do, right? It's like it's just getting that if we try to do something to help someone or to like maybe we care about hunger and we want to help that in some way and we do stuff, but it's like if we're attached to the result of eradicating hunger on the planet, perhaps we're going to suffer. Because of course, it's a good thing to do to care about it and to do something, right? But if we're attached to the result of the effort, then we suffer. It's like if you were trying to stay healthy your whole life, but you know you're going to die. But you still want to take care of yourself, right? It's like the Buddha taught, right? It's like, may I take care of myself happily while living on this world. Living in this world. May we take care of each other happily while living on this planet. We have this paradox of having this responsibility of the karma of taking birth in this body, And with these particular people and animals and plants, right where we live, right, like where, or like on the planet, right, that there's the stewardship that we have to do the best we can to take care. And yet, we know we'll die at some point. How important, right, that balance of the compassion, the taking care, and the equanimity, that we don't know what's going to happen next. Hmm. And as the motivation purifies, I think what's so interesting, and as we pay attention more fully, we start to see that how much expectation can take a place in our life, or agenda. And it's not that we're trying to crush it or get rid of it as much as start to explore what it's like to see an expectation and then to see how it kills connection. And to see if there's a way to work with that skillfully. So say, I know if this morning I was hoping that maybe the wind would stop, and there's an expectation, right? And even now, I would have closed more windows, honestly. I wouldn't, things are blowing that I wish weren't blowing all over the place, and there's more dust, and, but it's like, okay, so I had an expectation, and I had to let it go. Right? It's like it's just not happening, right? There's that level where we have this, when we meet a friend and we might start talking and we'll have an expectation about how we might want to be listened to. We might not even know it, right? And yet it's happening so much of the time, where how we slept, how we eat, what we have to eat, how we cooked it or how we didn't, or what we chose at the store to eat or what we didn't. It's just incessant judgment about how things should be. And this practice is so liberating. It's so healing, because you don't have to get rid of anything. I can say, oh, of course, I would prefer that the wind wasn't blowing so much today, right? We've had enough, right? But I can't control it. Or I would, it's like when we have long, long times or sometimes of perfect equanimity, and we're so at peace, and then we think it should last longer. And something happens and we're just like aversive. Something unpleasant happens, it's painful, we're aversive, and we just are so hard on ourselves because we miss the expectation that we think the equanimity should be permanent. But it's, if that happens, we can just say to ourselves, well, of course I would like this peace to last longer. And can I accept that the aversion is there? That's the key to this practice. Because if we think aversion and attachment shouldn't appear, we're suffering so much. And we're taking it personally. We think we're in control, but we're not. But we can, as we can bow to what the moment is. We can be with just what's appearing. We're trying to meet what's appearing without a sense that we should be able to control it. And that's the vulnerability we all share. Whether we're a whale or a mole or a mouse, right? Or whatever being, human. All the beings we can't see or see. Most of us probably know who William Shatner is. He was the commander on the ship at the Star Trek for so many years when we were young. He's 91 now. Some of you might know he went up into space recently. And I wanted to read you what he wrote. He wrote a book about it, but I just wanted to read you an excerpt from it. It's about expectation. I had thought that going into space would be the ultimate catharsis of that connection I had been looking for between all living beings. That being up there would be the next beautiful step to understanding the harmony of the universe. In the film Contact, when Jodie Foster's character goes to space and looks out into the heavens, she lets out an astonished whisper. They should have sent a poet. But when I finally arrived out there, the splendor was absent. The feeling wasn't the warmth or glow that required poetry to express it. It was ominous. It was the opposite of life. It was among the strongest feelings of grief I have ever encountered. It reinforced tenfold my own view on the power of our beautiful, mysterious, collective human entanglement. And eventually it returned a feeling of hope to my heart. In this insignificance we share, we have one gift that other species perhaps do not. We are aware not only of our insignificance, but of the grandeur around us that makes us insignificant. That allows us perhaps a chance to rededicate ourselves to our planet, to each other, to life and love all around us if we seize that chance. And I thought that was so honest. Like he was expecting bliss, right? He was expecting euphoria. He was expecting something so different. And yet he was able to be honest and really connect with, in some ways, the grief of what we're doing to our planet and what we're doing to ourselves in the process of that. And yet he had that sense that we're capable of getting that we're insignificant and that what really matters is taking care, right? Of taking care. And to get liberated, the Buddha would add. I think that there are there are times in our lives where we um, step out of our assumptions about how things should be and the expectation. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be just some small thing. That it can be some connection that we make with the sky or a cloud or an emotion within us or another being. Or it's like it doesn't matter. It's the quality of the awareness that happens. That Emerson said, it can make the heart feel too big for our body. I love that. It can make the heart feel too big for our body, but it's like that sense of the mind, heart, the chitta is boundless, right? It can feel like this boundlessness of connection, care, empathetic joy, equanimity, and this openness to being with things as they are comes from understanding what the mindfulness really is, which is a soft readiness. Suzuki Roshi said it. It's so clear and so pure. It's like soft readiness. It's like a readiness for anything to happen, because anything can happen. It's just that it's a vulnerable readiness without that sense of having to get anything, get rid of anything, or we're not buying into expectation or agenda. but we're letting that be as well. We're just letting things be as they are. And that vulnerability is very strong. And we're taught that vulnerability is weak, but it's very strong. That it's the paradox of the softness and the strength, that's what comes together. And that's when there's an imperturbability. There's a deep equanimity. That's an imperturbable, serene contentment where we just are not overlaying our ideas about how things should be from the past. And we're just letting things be. We're connecting, not controlling. Mm. So that description is really, the Buddha taught the 4 heavenly messengers. That description of that kind of quiet, serene, imperturbable heart is the 4th heavenly messenger, someone more peaceful than peace itself. And that we can know that that's such an important thing to know, that we're capable of, that we're all capable of. And of course, in the Buddha's story, of course, of his journey of awakening, his father tried to prevent him from seeing anybody who was old or anybody who was sick or anybody who was dying. And anyone who was more peaceful than peace itself. There was a prophecy that his son would either become the king or a great spiritual teacher. And his father didn't want him to be a great spiritual teacher. So he tried to protect him from seeing anybody old or sick or dead. And I think it's a great teaching. It's a great teaching for all of us that that trying to protect ourselves from the harshness of anicca or the pain in this world makes us weaker and weaker. And less sharing of that magnificence of being insignificant, but being connected on this planet where we take birth. So that the Buddha, when he was the Buddha to be, and he did see someone old, and he did see somebody sick. Oops, sorry, and he did see somebody dying. Can you hear me? Okay, it's okay. Okay. Um, he just went through such agony about, like, is this going to happen to me? Is this going to happen to all of us? Again, the shared taking birth with all beings on the planet. And of course, when he saw the renunciate and, saw someone more peaceful than peace itself, and that triggered the memory of, like, he spent lifetime after lifetime after lifetime perfecting the paramis to become a Buddha. It awoke that part of him that became the spiritual teacher. And he dedicated his life to the end of suffering, to become someone more peaceful than peace itself. Mm. And we can do that too. And it's that ability to remember the soft readiness, the soft readiness, the soft readiness, the pausing, the not buying into our knee-jerk conditioned reactions, and just knowing that we can meet each moment, right? The appearance of each moment with the quality of awareness that isn't trying to control, but just trying to connect with all the kindness and care that we can. So I'd like to end with a little poem by Issa. Issa was Kobayashi Issa, 1763 to 1827. He often lived cold, homeless, and hungry. All around my house, pond frogs from the beginning sang about old age. All around my house, pond frogs from the beginning sang about old age. Hopefully we can do the same. Okay, so I think it's time to move into, I hope you all read that we were going to have a ceremony today for Tang Nguyen, and Jesse will lead us in that. If you didn't bring a candle, it's okay.
Thank you, Michele.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you didn't have a chance to read the email that went out this morning, Tang Nguyen, a longtime member of our sangha, passed away a few days ago at home with his wife Quinn, also a member of our sangha, and their family around him. He was in decline, for some time, and had a fall a few weeks ago, and luckily was able to come home from the hospital last week and kind of be surrounded by his family during his final peaceful, quiet days. Sounds like it was very beautiful, and we wanted to honor him, in just a simple kind of short period of reflection and encouragement for his journey onward. And so the invitation in the email was if anyone had a candle, they could bring it to our sitting, and you can feel free to light it. If you have not, you can feel free to have it be part of your shared screen or not. I'll say, some more in a few minutes, but we did want to give Quinn a few moments to share any words she might want to offer about Tang, or what she feels like would be appropriate right now in terms of our recognition of him. Let's see, can you unmute? There we go.
Thank you, Michele and Steve and Jesse. yes, Tang was afflicted with Parkinson's disease, which was a cruel conditions. He was increasingly frustrated in his last few months by the physical and mental limitations. And it was heart-wrenching to watch him losing his various faculties gradually. And but despite all this, Tang was always looking forward to the Sunday sitting. He finds so much solace and soothing in being with the sangha, and especially with chanting the metta chant. So I think he will be here today to receive the loving kindness that the sangha was so generous of. And I'm sure he will want to chant with us. Thank you.
It's such a wonderful memory of the last few years. I just feel like, you know, Tang was a part of this community much longer than I have been. And yet the coming online kind of brought him into like just a more regular presence and connection, and with the Sunday sittings and with the retreats, and yeah, definitely the chanting. I feel like his voice is one that often comes through, and I'm really sad to feel like we'll be missing that. But I think that there's also something so powerful of like how it is included in our hearts, you know, where we recognize that contribution to our community from everyone, you know, whether you knew Tang or not, this sense that we are all contributing and all receiving benefits in ways that we're not always aware of, how powerful it is, how important it is. And just, you know, in this moment right now of acknowledging that, you know, I can't say for sure what happens, you know, when we pass away in this lifetime, but I think we do have a lot of confidence in this understanding that, you know, as long as there is, until we are perfectly disentangled, and there is a lot of room in the tradition to recognize that in the last few moments of anyone's life, there's a lot of possibility for what might happen in terms of our practice, and a lot of opening for liberation that others will never know, you know, that it's a very private time, of course. So we don't know, you know, those last moments of Tang's life and what came to fruition in terms of his practice. But we know that there was so much goodness in his life, and that for us right now, right here, it feels important to honor that and to recognize that, and to know that if there is something of his force, of his becoming that continues on, you know, places where, of course, we may not end this life fully disentangled, that there is therefore a momentum to our actions that propels us, you know, onward into some other formation, that we offer this light, you know, we offer this guidance and this clarity wherever that spirit may be, wherever those mental and physical realities might be unfolding in this moment. We offer that clarity, you know. It feels to me important to recognize, you know, when the Buddha said, he's in the Mangala Sutta, you know, what is the highest blessing? Not to associate with fools, to associate with the wise, to honor those who are worthy of honor, to live in a suitable place, to have performed meritorious actions, to set oneself in the highest direction, to be knowledgeable, skilled, trained and disciplined, to be well-spoken, to look after one's parents, to look after one's partner and children, to have a peaceful occupation, to be generous, to be righteous in conduct, to assist one's relatives, to engage in blameless actions, to abstain from evil thoughts, deeds, and speech, to be restrained from intoxicants and diligent in wholesome acts, respectful, humble, content, grateful, to listen to the Dhamma at suitable times, to be patient, obedient, to visit monastics and have timely discussions on the Dhamma, to lead the holy life, be chaste, fathom the noble truths, and realize Nibbana. This idea that, of course, we know that in Tang's lifetime, he made progress in all of these fronts, that he achieved so much of this goodness, or we think of the paramis, these spiritual perfections of generosity and virtue, renunciation, wisdom, energy, patience, honesty, determination, loving kindness, equanimity. That, of course, as humble people, we all know how much work any one of us still has to do in terms of perfecting these things, but that we recognize in his life the strides forward, that are propelling him now in whatever form he's in, whatever terrain he's moving through, whatever awaits him, that there is a force of goodness that he himself is responsible for, and that propels him forward, and that we can honor that in our hearts. We recognize that in our hearts, and perhaps we remind his spirit of that wherever it is and whatever condition he finds himself in. We can imagine there might be times in this journey that are lonely, that are scary, that are unclear, uncertain. And so that we want to make sure that if there's any way that our clarity about him and our faith in his goodness, and affirming of the beautiful qualities that he conjured himself and that he's riding on, that we offer that to him right now in this moment. And all of the goodness, and we can rejoice in that, for whatever future state he finds himself in. And so, yes, we want to invite everyone to join us in chanting the metta chant. If you would like, you can unmute yourselves. I will share the screen. And feel that goodness. Not that one. Let's see. Here we go. Yes. Feel the goodness of his life and of his blessing, and the continued goodness of it, whether we are aware of it in detail or not. And that we offer this chant and this attunement of our heart toward kindness, toward Tang in his ongoing journey. So as usual, we'll do it call and response. I'll chant the line and everyone can join in together. Aham awedo homi. Abhyapajo homi. Anigo homi. Sukiyatanam pariharami. Sabe sata. Sabe pana. Sabe buddha. Sabe pugala. Sabe atabawa pariyapana. Saba itio.
Sabah
Abe purisa.
Sabe Purisa
Saba napungsakani.
Sabah Napunsani
Sabe wana.
Sabe
Sabe Arya.
Arya
Sabe Anarya.
Sabe Anarya
Sabe Dewa.
Sabe Dewa
Sabe Manusa.
Sabe Manasa
Sabe Winipatika.
Sabe Winipatika
Aweda Hontu.
Awara Hontu
Abya Paja Hontu.
Abya Paja
Aniga Hontu.
Aniga Hontu
Sukhiyatanam Hariharantu.
Sukhi Atanam Hari Harantu
Dukkha Muchantu.
Dukkha Muchantu
Yata Lada Sampatito.
Yata Lada Sampatito
Mawegachantu.
Mawigachantu
Namasaka.
Kamasaka
Purati Maya Disaya.
Purati Maya Desaya
Achi Maya Disaya.
Achi Maya
Uttaraya Disaya.
Desaya
Akinaya Disaya.
Kinaya
Rati Maya Nudisaya.
Purati Maya Anudesaya
Achi Maya Nudisaya.
Pachi Maya Anudesaya
Uttaraya Nudisaya.
Nudesaya
Dakinaya Nudisaya.
Dakinaya Anudesaya
Iti Maya Disaya.
Heti Maya Desaya
Upari Maya Disaya.
Upari Maya Desaya
Udam Yawa Bhavagacha.
Yawa Bhavagacha
Ado Yawa Avichito.
Adoyawa Awijito
Amanta Chakawalisu.
Tamanta
Esata Patavichara.
Esatapata Vichara
Abhyapaja Niveracha.
Abhyapacha Niviracha
Nidukacha Nupadawa.
Nidukapadawa
Udam Yawa Bhavagacha.
Udam Yawa Bhavagacha
Ado Yawa Avichito.
Adoyawa Awijito
Samanta Chakawalesu.
Samanta Chakavalisu
Esata Udakechara.
Esata Udakechara
Abhyapaja Niveracha.
Abhyapacha Niviracha
Nidukacha Nupadawa.
Nidukapadawa
Udam Yawa Bhavagacha.
Udam Yawa Bhavagacha
Ado Yawa Avichito.
Adoyawa Awijito
Amanta Chakawalesu.
Samanta Chakavalesu
Esata Kasechara.
Sata Akasecha.
Abhyapajani Vedacha
Abhyapajani Vedacha.
Idukachanu Padawa Udam Yawa Bhavagacha
Udam Yavagacha.
Ado Yawa Avichito Samanta Chakawalisu
Samanta
Isata Gimichara
Isata
Abhyapajani Vedacha
Abhyapajani
Idukachanu Padawa Ada Imaya Patipadaya Jaramara Namha Parimuchi Sami Idame Punyam Asawaka Yawahang Hotu Idame Silam Agapala Nyanasa Achayo Hotu
Achayotu
Imam no Punyabagam
Imam Banyavagam
Tabasatanam Dema
Vasatanam
Abe Satta Sukita Hontu
Abe Sata Sukita
Sadhu Sadhu
Sadhu Sadhu
So just like it says in that chant, at the end, it's like we can offer our own merit, the own force of our own goodness, of our practice, even just today, for Tang's well-being, for his benefit, that may the goodness of our own merit and practice benefit him on his journey forward. And as Michele often likes to say, in Burma, the nuns will often, when they're sharing the manna, they'll say, "Mya, mya, mya," take it, take it, take it. So you're welcome to all, mya, mya, mya.
Meow, meow,
And maybe you can ring their bells if you have a bell. May he receive it, and may his family be safe and well and held and comforted in their time of sadness and loss. And may we all benefit from the goodness of his life and his practice, and honor his memory in our continued dedication to this path.
Sadhu, sadhu,
sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Good.
I just wanted to also just add I think I met you when I moved to Honolulu in 1983. Is that right, Steve? We met you. So I think that it's been wonderful to know Tang that long and family, and we'll really miss Tang.
Oh, sorry, Michele. I just muted you by accident. I was trying to just cut off some of the background.
It's probably mine. Okay,
Yeah.
just wanting you to know how much we'll miss him.
They were among our first sangha.
Yeah, yeah. So many happy moments with Tang and eating baguette, eating at your table. Mm. And I know you must be. We're sad to miss him, but I know you must be also sad. Well, I can say one more thing, which I think is there's always these signs that happen, but the day that Tang died, all these cardinals kept coming to our house and around the house, many, and all day. And I felt like he was telling us that he was in a good place and okay. So we know he loved birds, and I think that's always a good thing to share, that he's so present.
He always wanted to share with all of you that whenever he sat, the birds came to meditate with him. He always felt in a good place when he sat. And the day after he died, I was sitting, and all of a sudden I received the message that he felt free of suffering, that he was in a good place. And that really bring a lot of soothing to my heart. Thank you.
I appreciated how much energy, how much courage. Every week he wanted so much to be part of the sitting, and would arrange everything and get it just right and sit down almost like an excited little boy, to receive and participate in the Dhamma. It was so lovely to experience.
That was the highlights of his life every week.
All his goodness came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for a beautiful send out.
Thank you, Quinn.
Yeah, we're here for you, Quinn, and your family.
Michele, I don't know if you wanted to say anything about the coming kind of weeks
Yeah,
of
not everybody's here anymore, so we'll have to write something. But just, it's that time of year where Jesse and I get to do a self retreat, and 6 weeks. So we haven't made a total schedule yet, but we'll be in silence, and Stephen Darine will be doing some of the Sunday sittings, and then some of the Honolulu Sangha. Like the other years, will be leading the sits. So sometimes it'll be just a sitting, and sometimes it'll be a sitting and Q&A, or sitting and a talk and a Q&A. So Stephen is also needing a little time off, so he's going to get a little break, but not as long as us. So we hope you understand that we need to replenish our own practice, but also want you to keep sitting, because it's such a powerful thing that we have going here for all of us. I think it's evident at this point how important it is. So I think that emphasis again on the most important thing is that we're getting to practice together and sit together. And even get to do a ceremony for someone who has died together. Like, that's a real important thing to acknowledge, that we have that, we can do that together online.
So we'll be back in a couple months, and well,
Stephen will be back soon.
yeah, we'll
Sooner.
see you next
Yeah.
weekend.
Maybe, yeah, one of them. Yeah.
So thanks for continuing to hold the space together.
Thanks, Steve, for continuing to hold the space when you can.
All right. Take care, everybody.